This year is the 10-year anniversary of Avengers Age of Ultron, so I thought it'd be really fun to rank every single Age of Ultron LEGO set, from the original wave back in 2015 to subsequently all the sets released later. As well, I'm ranking them in the tier list. I've never actually done this before, so I thought it'd be an interesting change. And you probably all know how it works. The better the set, the higher up on the tier list it goes. So let's begin. Starting off with the smallest set, Iron Man versus Ultron. And I'm going to put this in C tier. I actually really like this set, and it's the perfect army builder for Ultron Sentries. You get 4 minifigures Iron Man in the Mark 45, which is the only time it's appeared in LEGO. I'd love to see it get a remake, but the original minifigure looks great. Then we get 3 Ultron Sentries, all of which have great printing. And like I said, this is the perfect set to build an Ultron army with. It was only £12, so a pretty decent price to pick up a few of these. But as good as the minifigure selection is, the build is just probably one of the worst Marvel builds of all time. Step aside Mandarin Boogie. It doesn't look too bad when you have the Ultron Sentries connected to it, but when they're off of it, it looks awful. So kind of a hard one to rank because the minifigures are like A tier and the build is like F tier. So I think C is a decent compromise. The next set is the Avengers Hydra Showdown. And this once again is going to go in C tier, a little bit ahead of Iron Man vs Ultron. This was a great price of only £20 or $20. You get 2 great builds, the Avengers 4x4, and then a boogie for the Hydra Soldier. It also contained 3 really good minifigs. We got 4 who had a great torso print. I love the metallic color used for it. It was a big improvement over the original Avengers 1-1. Then we had Hawkeye, who's probably still one of the best Hawkeye minifigures we've ever gotten, and he was also a massive improvement over the original one. He looks so much more accurate to the movie. And then we got a Hydra Soldier who was decent. So 3 great figs and 2 good builds. Unfortunately though, I just don't think this set is interesting enough to place it any higher. The next set was the Hulkbuster Smash, and this is one of my most nostalgic and beloved sets. But I'm going to place it in B tier, I think, almost A tier. The Hulkbuster was one of my most wanted LEGO sets. I've loved it since I was a kid from the comics and the old TV shows. So seeing it in the movie then getting its own LEGO set was so exciting for me. The Hulkbuster build is really good, but obviously it's aged a little bit. The new ones are a lot more detailed and a lot more accurate, but I still have a lot of love and nostalgia for this one. And for a first attempt, I thought they did a really good job. Then you also get the Hulk containment cell, then 3 amazing minifigures and a big fig. We got Iron Man in the Mark 43, Scarlet Witch for the first time, then Ultron Prime. Now this might be a slightly unpopular opinion, but I think Ultron Prime is better than Ultimate Ultron. Lastly, we got the Big Fig Hulk, who was also a massive improvement from the original one, in terms of movie accuracy and to mock Ruffalo's like this, although I do actually prefer the original mold. And this set was a great price of only £30, which would be unthinkable today if it included a Big Fig. Up next is the Hydra Fortress Smash, and I'm going to put this in C tier. Now, I recall this set being an exclusive. I couldn't find it in the stores, so I had to pay like £10 extra on Amazon to get it. Not that that's really relevant, but I just remember having to do that. It was another good set, and I always love location-based playsets. And it was really cool to get the fortress from the beginning of the movie, although it's significantly smaller. Still a decent build with a decent interior, and the Hydra tank looks really good. The set contained 4 minifigures, including Captain America and the Hydra Soldier once again. For the first time ever, Quicksilver, who was exclusive for 10 years to this set, and then Baron Strucker, who was still exclusive, both of which are great minifigures. Then we also got Big Fig Hulk again. And just like the Hulkbuster, it was a surprisingly great price considering it contained a big fig. Next on the list is the first ever Avengers Tower with Attack on Avengers Tower. This is going in B tier, almost A tier. Now, when I was younger, I remember this being a lot more epic and impressive, but it's actually really small. But then again, it was only 515 pieces. And for so little, it's actually a really impressive build and captures the tower's design well from the movie. And it has a surprisingly great interior. It hits all the main rooms from the movie, from the lounge where they have the party, the Jarvis control room, the sick bay with the stretcher, a place to analyze Loki's scepter, and even an Iron Legion deployment room. The set also included 5 great minifigures, Iron Man and Thor who appear in other sets. We also got Ultron Mark 1 who had an amazing design, one of my favorite minifigures from this wave, and then 2 Iron Legionnaires, both of which looked great. So this is another one of my favorite sets and almost made it into A tier, and by the end of the video I might even change it. Which leaves one set left from the original wave. It is the Avengers Quinjet City Chase. Once again going in B tier, almost A tier. In terms of the playset Quinjet, this is one of my personal favorites. The Age of Ultron Quinjet is also my favorite from all the movies, and this was a pretty great recreation, although the color scheme is a little bit off. It was packed full of tons of great play features, like the ability to drop the bike, but it did unfortunately have quite a cramped interior. Then we did also get the Cradle Truck, where Ultron's transporting Vision's body. So that's a nice little addition, as it added a lot more playability to the set, and the minifigure selection was great. Once again getting Iron Man in the Mark 43, Captain America, then Black Widow for the first and only time in this wave, and just like the others, she was a big improvement over the original one. Lastly, we got the first ever Vision. Unfortunately, the Infinity Stone is the wrong color, and then Ultimate Ultron, who's a great fig, just not one of my favorites. And that is it for the original 6 sets. I think they're all actually really good, and towards the end of the video I might bump them up a little bit higher. But now let's move on to sets released a little bit later. The next set to release was the first big Hulkbuster back in 2018. and I'm going to put this in B tier. I think as far as the big buildable Hulkbusters go, this is definitely my favorite one. It was a really great price per part ratio, and the build was solid. It's pretty accurate to the movie. It was a good size of 25 centimeters. The only thing I'm not really a fan of is the chest and shoulder area. The build and proportions are just slightly off, so with a few changes it would have been perfect. I do however really like the base plate and the dummy arms, so it makes for a really cool display piece and it was a decent price. The next set released was Captain America and Hydra Face Off. Now this was only a 4+ set, so I shouldn't really be that harsh on it, but I'm going to put it in E tier. Now this certainly isn't an awful set, it's just a bit boring and basic. The bike build is fine and the turret is okay. And I do believe this was the first time getting an updated Age of Ultron cap with the helmet, so that was pretty cool. So the minifigs are decent. It's just a little bit of a set. And even with it being 4+, they could have done a little bit more. Another set from 2022 was the buildable Iron Man figure, and I'm going to put this in D tier. Unfortunately, I'm just not really a fan of buildable figs, so this just isn't for me. The build is okay, and Iron Man definitely suits his style the most, and I like the inclusion of the light brick, decent size of 24 centimeters. I could definitely see people liking this set more than I do, but like I said, buildable figs just aren't my thing. Then in the same year, we have one of the most controversial and divisive sets. We have the second big Hulkbuster, and I'm going to put this in E tier. I must admit, I'm not a fan of this set. It was incredibly expensive, $550 for 4,000 pieces, or £475 here in the UK. So taking a look at the build, it is pretty impressive. It's 52 centimeters tall, but unfortunately, it's just really inaccurate. The torso is way off, and so are the proportions. And I think when you're spending that much money, this should be like the most accurate Hulkbuster they've ever made. And the reason why it looks so weird and off is because it's made to accommodate the previous buildable Iron Man, and you can actually place that inside of it. So what you're left with is a $550 gimmick set, but you have to spend an additional $40 or £40 to complete it. And as I'm not really a fan of the previous buildable Iron Man minifigure, it just makes the set that much worse. Because for this price, you could get Avengers Tower, you could get the Daily Bugle. There's just so many better alternatives in my opinion. So I don't think this set is awful or the worst set ever made. It's just for the price, it should be significantly better. You know, it should be as accurate as possible. And for only 4,000 pieces, they should have made it £100 or $100 cheaper. Coming up next from 2023, we have Black Widow and Captain America motorcycles. I'm going to place this in D tier. Now, I do actually quite like this set. It's just a little bit Both bike builds are pretty good and you get 2 good minifigures, but they are later reused in another set. So by no means do I think this is a bad set. It's just one that I don't particularly care about. But going from a pretty mess set to one of my favorite sets of all time, we have Avengers Tower. And this is going to go in S tier pretty easily in my opinion. It's kind of a weird set because it includes both Avengers 1, Age of Ultron, and Endgame. And like I just said, it's one of my all-time favorite Marvel sets. The build is really impressive. It looks amazing from the exterior, an incredible size of around 90 centimeters, and it includes an insane amount of minifigures with 31 characters. It was also a great price of only £430 here in the UK for 5,200 pieces. I've spoken about this set a lot of times on the channel, so I don't want to go on too much about it, but it's one of my all-time favorites. Moving on to last year's sets, up first we're going to go with Iron Man and the Iron Legion versus Hydra Soldier. And this one is going to go in C tier. It's another great smaller set. And I really love the small Hydra Fortress build, and you get 4 really good minifigures. The updated Iron Man and the Mark 43 looks great. I love the Iron Legion, and the Hydra Soldier is a big improvement over the original ones. Just unfortunately, it's pretty expensive for the number of pieces. It's £20 for 135 pieces. So if this was slightly cheaper, around £15, I'd probably put this in B tier because it's a great number of minifigures. They all look really good, and the build is nice. Next is the Avengers Assemble Age of Ultron. And I'm going to place this in B tier, almost A tier. I'm not sure if this is controversial or not, but I absolutely love this set. It's my second favorite diorama behind the No Way Home one. I think the build is really good. I love the snow-covered trees, and the Avengers 4x4 is a big improvement over the original one. And it's really cool how you can recreate the opening shot of the movie. It makes it such a cool display piece. And it's one of the few sets to include all 6 of the original main MCU Avengers, all of which I think look really good, especially the new Hawkeye. The set for me might just creep into A tier if it was a little bit better priced. It retailed for £90 for 600 pieces, and I understand including a big figure makes it a little bit more expensive, but it still should have been a little bit lower. I think if it was around 70, it'd be the perfect deal. Finally, on to our last set, which is the newest one from this year. We have Avengers Age of Ultron Quinjet, and I'm going to place this one in A tier. Like I said, the Age of Ultron Quinjet is my favorite from all the movies, and this one I think is a big improvement over the original one. The builds, the proportions, and color scheme look so much more like the movie, and it just looks really good, and it also retains the bike drop feature and has a much bigger interior. It's also a solid price, especially here in the UK. The only thing slightly disappointing about it for me is the minifigures. The updated Ultron is great. It's probably my second favorite behind the new comic one, and a new Quicksilver is also great to see, especially after 10 years. It's also nice to see Hawkeye included, as he's often left out in sets for no reason. But I really think they should have included a new vision, especially how good the Avengers Tower one is. An Iron Man should have been in the Mark 45, and then the set would be pretty much perfect. And that is it for ranking every single Age of Ultron set. I'm fairly happy with the way the list turned out, but there is a few sets that I kind of want to move up, like the original Quinjet and the Avengers Tower. Let me know what you think of this ranking, what will be your personal ranking, or which ones are your favorite sets. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye.